Ivanka Trump is trying and failing to rehabilitate her own image by throwing daddy under the bus. This is something we've talked about, but it's part of a trend that's actually bigger than Ivanka. It goes not only to the other Trump family members, but even to people that worked with Trump, because all of these news stories and books about Trump, which I don't think are lying, are nonetheless being used by people like Ivanka and Jared and Kellyanne Conway and all the rest to rehabilitate their own images in the eyes of the people, to say Donald Trump was bad, he did crazy, anti-democratic, awful things, but the only reason it wasn't even worse was because of me and a few other people. So Ivanka is basically saying, oh, my dad did some bad things, but he would have been truly monstrous if not for my heroic efforts. And that's what you're hearing from a lot of people. And more writers at the New York Times, Daily Beast, other sources are saying, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's hammer Trump, but we have to make sure that in the process of doing that, we don't forget about the ghouls around him. Some of them actually egged him on, and basically all of them never did quite enough to call him out and to go to the people, go to the media, and expose his evil while he was in power. Not 6 months after in a tell-all book, but while he was in power. And I want to focus in on Ivanka because she's crucial for a couple key reasons. One, she was a personal advisor to Trump. Two, it's the president's daughter and his favorite daughter. We've all talked about how much Trump is enamored with Ivanka. For a lot of people, it verges on the creepy. And I think crucially here, because of all of that, she played such a personal role and has so much more to lose than the other people because she shares a last name with this dude. And so, all of these stories that are coming out show Ivanka as somebody that was trying to pull Trump away. There's a story that she tried to defend Mike Pence because she felt Pence was a good man and her daddy was being unfair to Mike Pence in the final days of their administration after Pence wouldn't overturn the election because Pence couldn't overturn the election. But one author really gets to the core of it with Ivanka when they say her lived experience is that she only went to her father's January 6th Save the America rally to keep him on an even keel. Never mind the fact that once daddy's mob began doing its worst, she addressed the scofflaws on Twitter as quote-unquote American patriots. Dowd recalled before noting that Mike Pompeo said, quote, the crazies have taken over. The crazies hadn't taken over. They were there all along, enabling other crazies. And that's the crucial point here. Ivanka, Pompeo, Kellyanne Conway, all of these people around Trump, but maybe Ivanka more than anyone, knew what Donald Trump was. They knew who Trump was back when he came down that escalator. And they still backed him, and they still stood by, because he gave them access to power and money and privilege and importance that they wouldn't get from Hillary Clinton because they weren't on the blue team. So they went with their team and they punished Americans for it. And Ivanka, as somebody, if we really are to believe that she was so important to daddy, she might be the most guilty of all. Because if Ivanka really did have daddy's ear, and she could have gone to him any time in the last 5 years and said, daddy, you're making a mistake. She never did it until it was time to save the brand. Ivanka, maybe second to only daddy himself, is the most guilty here. Don't let her make a return to politics or anything else.